good. So we're talking about teeth, about horse teeth, and kind of the importance and what's all about. Their teeth are not exactly like ours. I mean, they use them to chew, but not exactly like ours. And then we'll also look at donkeys a little bit at the end too, and have a teeth detective game, call it, where we get to look at some images of teeth and see if we guess the age of the horse, because teeth can give you an idea of their age. So let me pull up my shared screen here again so you guys can see. There we go. You guys can see some images to help us learn about teeth. So I really like this first one. It gives you a nice overview of what their teeth look like. And one of the interesting things about horses, kind of like hamsters and mice, is their teeth are in there and they're really long. And as they chew, they wear away and they grow out of the skull there. So you can see how long the... Oh, oh, somebody's ready. Hello, welcome. Let's see. Welcome, welcome. I think her audio's connecting. So we are just getting started. I don't know if she can hear me quite yet. The other thing you'll notice is the arrangement of the teeth. They have these incisors. Let me get my fancy pin here. Last time I used a nice little drawing tool. Let me see here. There you go. Right up there. And they have these front teeth. They're incisors, which you'll see later they use to grasp and tear when they're grazing. And then they have their molars in the back. And when we put a bridle on the horse, the bit sits right here in this gap in between the two. So that's why we can have a bridle, not have it clank into their teeth, because of the arrangement. So they chew with these teeth in the back, tear with the teeth in the front, and they grow out. Even the front teeth grow out with time and wear away as they eat. And that helps them change the shape of their teeth, which is why we can use their teeth to help us determine age. So let me keep going here, down a little bit more. So this is like as if, let me get rid of these. This image down here is as if we were looking, like we took a horse's mouth and opened it so wide we could see, you know, the top and the bottom, from the top from below and the bottom jaw from above. And so you can see again that gap here in between their teeth sets, and you can see the numbers of teeth. So there's a few random teeth that some horses may or may not have. These wolf teeth that are right by the molars are often pulled because they do sometimes rub on the bit. So with my horses here, usually they'll maybe get like the two on top but not on the bottom, and then I just have them pulled so they don't give them any trouble, because they don't do them any good really. And then sometimes stallions, you know, gelded horse will get canine teeth, but none of my mares do, and so those may or may not be present also for some horses. And so if you look at how many teeth should a horse have, what do you guys see? How many, if you don't count canine or wolf, you just look at their premolar, molars, and their incisors, how many teeth does a normal horse have? What do you see there? Any guesses or counting?
I thought it was 108, but I must be wrong.
108 is a little high. There's got 6 incisors on top and 6 incisors on the bottom. And then there's 6 and 12 molars, 6 and 12 molars. So together about 36, unless they've lost a tooth along the way. So they have at least 36, sometimes more, 40 or more. But 36 should be the normal amount of teeth in a horse's mouth. Okay. Any questions so far? Anybody on this? We'll keep going. So a nice internal image here, and you can see a wolf, what the wolf teeth would look like if they were left. They're pretty easy to remove, so often that's done if they give trouble.
Do they get Novocaine?
And then
do they get Novocaine?
No. Usually, when we do teeth work, we give them a drink, like a kind of a mellowing drug, to work with their teeth. Partly because it helps them keep their mouth open, and they don't bite you, and it then helps, take away the pain of that. But it's when we just had the one done recently. I've got a 5-year-old here at my house. He just gave her a little mellowing drug, a drink, and then he just went in there and he just twists it and it pops out. So it's really not a terrible tooth to remove. It's not like it's not embedded in. It's more like a little tooth like ours, rather than a full, like these molars that go way up into their jaw. So you can see here in this little image, let me grab my drawing tool again, that the little wolf tooth, see how it's just this tiny little thing right there? It's not it's not like trying to remove one of these molars. So pretty simple thing to do. Okay, so then when the teeth are, there's 36 of them and they're all in place and working well, it's good, but horse teeth, because they wear away, can get troublesome. And so here's an image of a pretty terrible set of teeth for this horse. And you might notice they won't, the teeth won't line up as well, and the front here has gotten out of whack, so now there's an overbite, which means they might not be able to cut the grass when they're chewing quite properly. And then you get these hooks and waves that push and cut into their gums, and you get a lot of teeth trouble. But before let's play the video of showing them eat. So I took some videos of my horses at my house that are grazing or eating hay, so you can see how they utilize their mouth, which helps explain why we get all this teeth trouble. Okay, so because of that jaw circling like this, a lot of times it'll cause them to have waves and their teeth won't stay perfectly flat, and then they'll get points. Or they won't line up quite right, and next thing you know, as it wears away, it leaves a point up here or a point in the front. And you get these funny, points here it shows. Let me grab my tool again. Oh, there it is. So you get these points like down on this one, or hooks on the fronts, on the ends of the molars, or waves. If they get a wave that kind of happens, like this wave and ramp in here, then it just doesn't match up right, and they have a hard time chewing, hard time breaking up the food to a point where they can actually eat it, actually get it so they can swallow it. Or teeth that are wearing unevenly, that sort of thing. Bringing it in. All those funny things can happen to their teeth, and then you'll notice issues with maybe they're losing weight because they're not getting enough nutrition. One of my biggest signs is when they're chewing and they'll dribble, especially grain, but sometimes they'll get hay and they'll kind of ball it up, and next thing you know, there's like a spitball of hay on the ground. And that's because they couldn't get it chewed enough to make it small enough to swallow it. So they'll end up kind of leaving some of the hay behind or dribbling grain out of their mouth. if they're sore. Then when the vet comes to check, he'll kind of palpate, he'll feel along their jaw or kind of look in there, and if you palpate that jaw and they go ow ow ow, then they probably have some sort of sore from their teeth getting pointy and poking into the sides of their mouths, and then they get oral sores. So Emmy, could you pull up the other video and I'll make you host. Stop sharing. And okay. And so the next video is when we notice a problem, or just on a regular basis, about once a year, I have the vet check the horse's teeth, and I keep watch and see if they're in need of getting some of those things fixed, those points and waves and stuff like that. And if we get to that point, then the vet will do a flotation. And that's where they go in and use, since horses' teeth normally wear when they eat, the vet is going to use tools to wear so that the teeth are back to a normal shape, or get rid of the hooks that should have not been there in the first place. We can use the teeth to tell about the age of a horse. It's not 100% certain. Everybody can be a little different, the horses, or they may certain wear that weared them faster, so they might look older by their teeth. But in general, by looking at their teeth, you can get a pretty decent, maybe within 5 years, idea of about how old they are. And some of the keys here are based on the shape of the tooth. That seems to be one of the greatest ways of telling, because the shape of the tooth changes as they age. This image down here, with the side view of a single tooth, really shows you how that tooth will end up growing out, and it changes the angle of the tooth, and it changes the shape and the little bits that show in the middle. And so you can see here at about 5 years old, the tooth is pretty oval. It's wider than it is tall. And then as they get a little older, it starts to get more square shaped, about as wide as it is tall. And then as they get much older, it turns triangular. And now it gets to the point where it's taller than it is wide. And the one next to it here also shows that. Really wide when they're younger, more round, more round. Now it's getting taller than it is wide, and taller as they hit their 20s. So that's one really good way. You also notice that when they're young, there's this little cup shape in there. And then as they get older, the cup starts to disappear and the dental star that's inside their tooth shows up. And so that will pop up, and then there's a little dot for the rest of the dental star as they get older. Another really good one is the angle of the front teeth. So you can see how, because of the bend in the tooth that comes out, it starts out that they kind of have this more up and down, shorter tooth. And then as it grows out, the shape turns to where they get more, what you would almost call like a parrot mouth, where they get more of a long tooth and more of a tooth that sticks out more. And this blue image here shows that progression. As the tooth grows out and wears away, the new tooth sticks out more this way, more out in front. So we can use all of that to help us, and you might kind of make some notes about, like, ooh, okay, they look, it's real long and angled here of 18. When you're at 7, it's a little more in between. When they're real young, it's less. And then you can also really tell when they're very little by the number of teeth, because they have baby milk teeth. And then those little milk teeth, kind of like baby teeth that we had, will pop out and they'll get big teeth at certain specific stages. And so I'm trying to remember, even I don't have them fully memorized. No, I didn't write it down. Anyway, so at certain stages, you'll be able to go, okay, this horse is probably new because they still have two teeth, but the other four are large teeth in their fronts. And it's only the front teeth that have baby teeth. And they, at 5 years old, I do know, they lose all their baby teeth and they'll have all their big teeth, front teeth in at 5 years old. So let's see if we can be a tooth detective. So these images here, you can give a guess. And maybe, Emmy, have you seen these before? Do you want to, you and Carol can both give a guess on how old you think this particular horse is.
You first, Carol.
Looking at the angle,
I
the
have
spots,
no clue. I would
and the
think
shape of the tooth.
this horse looks older.
Okay.
That was my first guess with the like looking at the second picture, but then looking like straight on the teeth, it looks like you can see more of the oval. So I was thinking maybe younger.
Okay.
I don't know. Like
Maybe
So look at
can,
the biggest clue. If you look at these bottom front teeth, do the teeth look taller or are they wider?
taller.
taller, yeah.
Taller. And so taller and more of a triangular shape here means it's older tooth. And she's a little long and kind of angled out, and it'll be more obvious when you see some of the images of the bigger horses. So throw out a number. What do you guys think?
Like 13, 14.
Okay. What do you think, Carol?
9 or 10.
Okay. So this is my old mare, Tiger Lily.
Oh my gosh.
And she's 23.
Oh, wow.
So she's got pretty decent teeth, right? You wouldn't, by her teeth, you wouldn't totally go, whoa, she's almost, in her mid-20s. But she definitely has the triangle and the angle of the tooth that shows some age for her. So now look at this horse. How different these teeth are.
I'd say a lot younger because they're more like straight up and down. There's not as much of the angle out.
And you can see those little spots in there.
Can you see her spots? Yeah, she's got a pretty big spot. See how big the spot is in there? Is it wider? Her bottom teeth, are they wider or taller?
Wider.
Definitely wider. Way wide, right? Way wide. I'll also give you another hint. Do these look fully grown in?
No.
No. So how old do you think this horse is?
I went first last time, Carol. It's your turn.
4.
4. Okay.
That's about what I was going to guess too, 3 or 4.
So this is May. She's my mom's horse that I have in training. And she is 5. So these teeth, the baby teeth disappear at 5. And so you can tell she's just after 5 because her big teeth are still growing in. So, but she's lost all of her baby teeth, so she's over 5. Great job.
Does the tooth fairy come when she loses a tooth?
I've never found I never found her lost tooth.
Tooth fairy already got it.
Yeah, maybe. She picks them up in the field, I guess. Who is it? One of the instructors. Oh, her name is lost me. Anyway, so when they get really old, they're like getting into their late 20s, sometimes they'll lose the teeth, like they'll run out of tooth and they'll fall out. And she has an old, because it was giving trouble and there's just a little bit left, so the vet removed it, and she has an old molar tooth, which is pretty cool. It was like, yay. It was a pretty good sized tooth. I wish I had that today. Okay, so here's another one to guess.
It can't be too old.
The
What's
teeth
that
are
tooth
starting
shape?
to slant out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And she has a funny, she wore her teeth on a feeder funny, and so that is not a normal wear line there. Just as a note.
So maybe this is a she.
It is a she. I have all mares at my house.
8.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna go with my guess on the first horse, which was like 10. It seems more reasonable
Okay.
for that.
So you can see here the outside teeth, right, are the last ones that come in, and they still have the cup, so that makes her a little younger, but her older teeth, the ones towards the middle, have both spots, so the cups are starting to disappear, and her tooth is starting to get a little rounder, you know, getting a little taller, not quite as wide as that last tooth. The other thing is sometimes horses around 6 will develop this little hook, and then it will start to disappear as that front tooth grows out. This edge here will disappear. So just some kind of little notes on her. And so this is Hatchet, and she is 7. So very good job. Good guessing. I mean, even the average vet may not have known the difference between 6, 7, or 8.
So when the vet comes, do they clean their teeth?
Do not. No, because of the diet of a horse, you don't almost ever have to worry about cleaning it. I mean, unless, I guess it's never been a problem for me. Have you ever heard of anything like that, Emmy? No, they just wear them away so they're not pinching or they're meeting upright so they can chew properly is the only thing. You don't clean it like a dog or, yeah. Mm-hmm. So how about this horse?
$13.
Okay.
Yeah, like 13 to 15. Because they're definitely much more round, but they haven't really gotten tall, super tall yet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Kind of that in between, and there is definitely
Some
angled in
slanting.
the last two and no groove here. So this horse is 17. So that within 5 years, 13, 14, yeah, that's very good to get that it's kind of a middle-aged horse, not young and not in its 20s. Perfect. This is Bo, the one we saw that had her teeth done, who found some mud that day. And we have 2 more. Here's another for fun since she's here. I'd say the angle of her teeth really gives her away the most.
Well, they're definitely less protruding than the other ones were.
Okay. And I would say,
The bottom one is protruding a lot, but the top are not.
yeah, so she has a long, and that could be a little bit of her conformation. She might have a little bit of an overbite
An
tendency.
overbite. Oh, for God's sakes, get her to the dentist.
Orthodontist time.
You can see she might have a tendency to grow a hook here, right? Or to wear away to a hook because of the way her jaw fits together. So make a guess. How old?
Well, I think I know which horse this is, so I think I can cheat on that one, but
15.
Very close. What do you think, Emmy?
a little bit older, like 18-ish.
So Belle, who's 19, I believe, or turning 19.
Yeah.
So, and there's a little.
Hence why I said I could cheat on that one.
Belle, who's 19. Yeah, the shape of her tooth doesn't always show it off, but I always feel like this angle here, this bottom angle especially, says a little older. And you can see Ranger's feet. He got in the picture there. And then here's a little bonus fun. This is not a horse that I have, but how old do you think this horse is?
It doesn't really look like horse teeth.
What'd you say, 14?
No, they look weird. They don't look like they're very short. So it's either someone super young or.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Somebody young, but maybe it's an older horse that's got well-worn teeth.
And count them. How many teeth are there?
Not very many.
There's not a full set.
Okay, so this horse is 3 years old.
Think even younger, because by 3 they're starting to get adult teeth. Less than 1.
Really?
This little horse is probably about 8 months old because it doesn't have all of its milk teeth yet. So when they're born without teeth, and then they'll grow little baby teeth, and then they'll start to trade out. These will fall out and get big teeth. The next one's big teeth, and the next one's big teeth by the time they're 5. So I would say this baby, I don't have this baby, but is about 8 months old or so because of how many milk teeth it has. Oh.
How long do they nurse? How old are they when they stop nursing? Put it that way.
I tend to wean somewhere between 4 and 6 months. So meaning that we start to separate the baby from the mare. And this last time it was mostly because the baby was basically sucking the life out of the mare. And the mare needed, like, she was skin and bones. It was too much for her. The baby was really big, was ready to be on its own, and so we weaned at 4 months, which can be a little early depending on the baby. But yeah, they're usually a couple months out starting to get onto solids pretty heavily and weaning off of milk. So yeah, this baby is probably not, this is probably a weaned baby. So yeah, great question. So if you feel like you'd want to look at a horse's teeth when you're at Hearts and Horses, just ask for a little help and guidance from the instructor before going and prodding and opening their mouths. Some horses are pretty sensitive and cranky about getting into their mouths, just like anybody might be. So just chat with your instructor and see if maybe that's a possibility if you want to check out and see if you can guess a horse's age or just see what they look like. And then if you ever see issues with horses dribbling or whatever, feel free to mention that to the instructor and maybe they can pass that along to the equine team in case there's teeth trouble. And let's finish up with a little bit of donkey talk. Since we have donkeys and mules at the property, which one looks like a horse and which skull is probably a donkey?
That's a horse. The top one is a horse.
Yes, and the bottom one is the donkey with the bigger. Donkeys can eat more brush, so they have a bigger, stronger jaw, bigger chewing. But you'll notice the same number of teeth, right? Same general placement, same growth out. So I chatted with Rachel a little bit because I've never owned a donkey, and she shared that it's basically the same maintenance with a donkey as it is with a horse. Just a little bit different shape to their overall jaw. And here's a nice
perfect shot.
Nice little donkey shot. How everything's pretty much generally the same. So love our donkeys. Let's see. She also shared with me that donkeys tend to live longer than horses, but the care is similar.
So how old do you think this one is?
Oh, this donkey? Mm-hmm. Probably a middle-aged, wouldn't you say? So definitely looks taller, and so might be reaching its 20s.
At 20, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. A little bit hard to see what the cups look like.
Yeah, they're kind of far away in the picture.
And not quite at the straight on angle, but yeah, definitely not. I would say definitely in double digits and might be reaching 20, might be in its 20s. So, and I don't know if the teeth wear. I didn't actually ask Rachel if the teeth wear away a little bit faster or slower or anything like that. So I don't know about that one. That'll be a good question for her when we all get back together. So, all right. Any other questions? Anything else you want to know? Let somebody know if you think there's teeth trouble and always ask before you start reaching in a horse's mouth. So,
Nothing else. We don't want you to get hurt, and that's always a possibility.
yes, yes.
It is nice to know that there's all that room between those teeth, though, because when you put the bridle on, you know that it's okay to do, but I didn't realize there was that much space.
Yeah.
And that space also makes it easier sometimes, like if a horse is not wanting to put their bit in, then you have that space to kind of convince them a little bit more without actually getting into where the teeth are and putting your fingers in danger.
I'll tickle their tongue with my thumb, and then it'll make them open their mouth and chew, and you can slide the bit in and not have a wrestle. That's a nice. It's nice to know there's no teeth there that could get you in the process, for sure, like Emmy said. Yeah. All right. Well, that's what I have on teeth.
Excellent.
Thank you so much for being here, Carol.
Oh, I learned a lot. I was anxious to learn something more.
It was fascinating information. Teeth it's a big part of health. I almost yearly have their teeth done, maybe every other year with some of the younger horses that don't have as many issues. So I think a lot of people forget how important it is to take care of their teeth. You know, your farrier is probably my number one because I see them every 6 to 8 weeks, because without feet they can't walk around, right? They can't do anything. And they stand on their feet so much, but then their teeth are pretty close after that with their vaccines in their teeth when the vet comes. So first find you a farrier if you own a horse someday, and then find you a good vet. So,
Well,
all right.
I had a boyfriend who is a vet, and I remember coming out here one year, and he took me immediately. He said, "I got to go pull a tooth," and I had to hold the horse while he stuck that big thing in there and extracted the tooth. It's
And you were right
exciting.
there. Was it a molar or a front tooth? An incisor?
Oh no, it was in the back.
A molar. Okay.
Molar.
Yeah, I've heard about. I haven't had that happen with a horse that I've owned, but I've heard about them getting an infection or weird stuff as that tooth starts to, yeah, in the back. Was it an older horse, you said?
I don't know. I think it might have been chewing on barbed wire or something like that.
That
Kind
would
of a stupid horse.
it wasn't old, it was just not a smart horse. Oh, well, what a cool experience.
Yeah.
Awesome. All righty. Well,
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you, Carol. It's good to see